Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. At the May 29th Monroe County Commissioners meeting, Planning Department Associate Planner Ann Crecelius presented an amendment to the North Park Planned Unit Development.
This is a proposed amendment number 7 to North Park Planned Unit Development. The petition site is 46 parcels for a total of 470 acres. This is spread across Bloomington and Richland townships, and they are all currently zoned North Park PUD.
Crecelius went on to explain that the petitioner is Logan Land Development, LLC, and outlined where the development is located.
The petitioner is Logan Land Development, LLC. They are proposing to significantly alter the current North Park PUD ordinance. The petitioner's representative is Trevor Traphagen of MKSK Studios, which is a planning, urban design, and architectural firm. There are 11 landowners included within the petition site. That includes the petitioner, Logan Land Development, and also Monroe County Board of Commissioners and the Quarry Park property.
Crecelius then gave further background information on the North Park PUD and why the petitioners are asking for the amendment.
A couple of overview points. So the impetus for this petition is that there is a contractual agreement between the petitioner and the County Board of Commissioners to purchase a portion of this property. It is one small portion of the total petition site, and that would be a potential future location for the Monroe County Justice Center. Additionally, planning staff has met with the property owner multiple times over the last couple of years, acknowledging and strategizing about a desire to revamp the North Park PUD. It was created 21 years ago and has not necessarily developed as they had expected. So they've been wanting to revamp the ordinance to reflect more current development patterns. The North Park PUD Amendment 7 before you would amend the PUD. And as we know, a PUD is kind of a create your own zone. That dictates certain things. It dictates the land use, what can be permitted in this area, and design standards like landscaping, parking, and sign structures. There's language within this PUD that states any development plan, so any property that proposes to develop for the first time or add new structures to an existing property, if triggered, would have to submit a development plan. And there is language in the PUD that states all development plan has to require approval through the Plan Commission. So for a development plan, it has to go before the Plan Commission and have a public hearing, which does include public notice and neighbor notice. So any adjacent property owners for any new development, you will hear about that in the future. So a review of some of the changes. So this is an overhaul of the existing PUD. We're going from about a 140-page document down to a 40-page document. So they've really consolidated the information. There were a lot of very specific standards within the current North Park PUD that through the properties that have developed, they know through experience now that, what worked, what didn't, and what can be condensed.
For the sake of public understanding, Commissioner Jody Madeira asked if Crecelius could explain what a conservation development area is. Crecelius described it as a zoning rule that focuses on conserving sensitive environments within a property.
Rural areas or have areas of sensitive environmental concern that are generally intended to be residential in nature. The design standards are often smaller or more flexible, but there are greater requirements for preservation of those environmentally sensitive areas. So in the example of this ordinance, it's that flexibility to have a pretty small lot size and be able to subdivide with a pretty small lot, while also having that requirement that you have to maintain a large percentage of the original property being subdivided to conserve those areas that are more sensitive.
Commissioner Lee Jones expressed her support for the amendment, stating that the PUD had long been in need of revision.
I believe it's been about 18 years that I've been hearing that this PUD needed to be revisited, and I'm glad that that's finally happened. This is actually quite important for us to be able to continue on with our plans for building a new justice center and a new jail. So I am very supportive of it.
During public comment on the amendment, County resident Seth Muchler voiced concerns about the development of the new Justice Center. Muchler said that he was worried that the future jail would be too far away for citizens to walk to town and would require walking on dangerous roads.
So I understand that this PUD revision contains many components and reaches far beyond its utility for the criminal legal system. I'm not going to be commenting today on the other components of this revision, just to that pertains to the proposed new jail. I did want to give a brief content warning. At the beginning of my comment, I will be reading from a New York Times article that does discuss the death of a pedestrian struck by a vehicle. This is from the New York Times article that was released on May 12th, When Getting Out of Jail Means a Deadly Walk Home. Rebecca Yamarillo stepped out of the Santa Fe jail and into the cold one night in January 2021. After 2 days in a cell, she was free, but no one was there to pick her up. So with a snowstorm coming, she began the long walk towards town. The jail in Santa Fe, surrounded by barbed wire and tumbleweed, sits on a remote stretch of highway far from the city's bustling plaza and historic churches. It is nearly 2 miles down the highway to the closest gas station, 3 miles to where a sidewalk starts, and 8 miles to the nearest homeless shelter. Miss Yamarillo, 33, made it only about a mile from the jail that night before she was hit by a sheriff's deputy driving a police pickup truck at 57 miles per hour. Her body was thrown more than 100 feet, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. Miss Yamarillo is one of several people who have died trying to make it home from the Santa Fe jail on foot in recent years. It is a walk that has been far more deadly than previously reported. 5 people have been fatally struck shortly after being released over the past decade, 4 of them since March 2020. So the article continues, and I will send each of you a full copy for you to review on your own time. I know that our situation and that in Santa Fe are not identical. I'm not trying to compare apples to oranges. And I recognize that the Santa Fe case is a more egregious one than the proposed site for the Monroe County's new jail. But that said, there are similarities. The North Park site sits 3.6 miles from where we are today in the heart of downtown. My Maps app claims that is a 1 hour and 21-minute walk. And if you wanted to avoid walking on State Road 46, that would extend that to 1 hour and 51 minutes, which would still include a lengthy walk on West Vernal Pike, heavily trafficked road. I recognize that this board has stated your plan to include public transit as part of this plan, but we have to admit the reality that you cannot compel people to use public transit, and the reality is people simply will be walking home from this site, often in the dark. It's worth noting that the Santa Fe jail is not co-located with their courts and their related offices, so this would only be exacerbated by the fact that we're not just talking about people going to and from jail, but from court, from daily reporting, from meeting with their prosecutor or public defender. And even if we had a satellite office for things like daily reporting, which largely defeats the purpose of co-location, our facility will have a much higher number. I know I'm out of time, I'll wrap up really quickly. We need to keep in mind the undue burden for those who might be able to not safely travel to and from, but also who might need to go to and from work, even if they have transportation. The North Park location is, simply put, not an acceptable location for a jail, our courts, and their related offices. I ask you to please vote no on amending the North Park PUD and reconsider other locations for the Monroe County Justice Center, including giving serious consideration to renovation of the existing facility.
The commissioners voted unanimously to approve the amendment to the North Park PUD. The Monroe County Commissioners will meet again on June 5th. The Monroe County Council met on May 27th. During public comment, community business owners spoke about the May 16th tornado and its impact. Hotel owner Jay Patel described the extent of the storm damage and asked for help from the council and community as they continue to recover.
We are doing our best to recover, but cannot do it alone. Today, we're asking for help in 2 specific ways. Support to quickly reopen parts of the motel with minimal damage, that is the back apartment building, in order to get displaced residents back into housing. Assistance through grants and loans that would help us with repairs and damage of the property, that would be surely appreciated. We're incredibly grateful to the support of friends and neighbors in this past week. Now we're asking for support from our county to help us get back to our feet and continue serving the community.
During the meeting, the council sought approval of readopting procedures regarding citizens' appointments to the Sophia Travis Committee. In a roll call vote, the approval of the ordinance passed 5-2. The council then discussed a possible pausing of the knowledge, skills, and abilities hiring procedures. Prosecuting attorney Erica Oliphant asked the council to reconsider pausing the KSA procedures, as it has allowed her to effectively hire deputy prosecutors with relevant local experience.
I really would beseech you to reconsider getting rid of the KSA. I understand this is a pause. I understand that you mean for it to be temporary, but this ability has allowed me to hire deputy prosecutors with experience. They don't often need to be trained in the law, but they just have to be trained in the local culture and policies. The person that you approved for me 2 weeks ago has already demonstrated an abundance of skill in trial with jury selection, is already serving as a mentor to younger prosecutors in my office, and this is week 3 of that person's employment. This is not a dollar for dollar value. I mean, I just can't, I can't get by with paying people less than they're worth.
The next Monroe County Council meeting is scheduled for June 10th. The Ellettsville Town Council met on May 27th and agreed to pass an ordinance that recertifies the current legislative districts of the town. Council President Scott Oldham noted that the maps of the current districts were created using data during the census conducted during the COVID-19 pandemic, which may have interfered with true population growth. Councilmember Dan Swafford added that the district lines would likely have to be redrawn after the next census when more accurate data is available.
I think back when we recertified this, or we were talking about it, there wasn't much development that was counted in the last census, and it was going to be minimal change, and that's why we left it as is. Whereas the next census should establish a bigger area, and we will have to probably redo the districts then.
The council also discussed an ordinance surrounding fees for the rental of the Ellettsville Heritage Center, a new gathering space designed for weddings, concerts, and other events. Planning Director Denise Line shared that the Parks Board had voted in a recent meeting to set the rental fee for the facility at $250 with a $500 safety deposit. Councilmember Scott Oldham expressed concern with the pricing, arguing that a public asset such as the Heritage Center should be more affordable for the general public.
It just strikes me as $750 is a lot for some folks to come up with that might want to use something like this to have a wedding or something that's memorable because the town did build something nice. And I'm not arguing one way or not about it. It just seems like a lot, particularly if we're going to deposit and they got to wait a week to get their money back.
The Ellettsville Town Council will meet again on June 10th. The Ellettsville Redevelopment Commission met on May 27th. During the meeting, commissioners worked on clarifications of TIF parcel numbers and descriptions. Town Attorney Darla Brown explained that a few errors were found with the parcels, but noted that it was not a substantial amount.
After the Redevelopment Commission passed its resolution at the second meeting in February, certifying certain areas as TIF districts, the town was required to provide copies of that to the auditor's office. And so the auditor found a few discrepancies, and considering this is our first time and we had over 150 parcels, I thought that was pretty good. But anyway, Stephanie Carter's been very helpful, and what she did was she put together a spreadsheet for both the West Side TIF and the downtown TIF, and she said, here's what I see as the problems. And either she found parcels that were either in the legal but not in the plat with the parcel numbers, or vice versa. Okay, so then I passed those along to Bynum Fanyo. Bynum Fanyo got back to me and they reviewed it, and they have an opinion, which I have now passed on to Stephanie Carter. But here's where we're at, and I think it's mostly good news.
Brown then explained that Parcel C had not been included in the plat map and would be left out of the TIF district for the time being.
All of the Parcel numbers that we included in the plat map were also included in the legal except for C, which is what you see there on the first page. Parcel C was neither included in the legal or the plat map, the parcel map like you have in front of you. So, assuming the auditor's office agrees, I don't think we have to do anything to clear up the west side TIF, but parcel C, which has an address of 8634 West Flatwoods, is not going to be part of the TIF district. So if the redevelopment commission is wedded to having that parcel in the TIF district right now, we'll have to make arrangements to do that. But I think what we need to do is basically start over. In other words, you have a declaratory resolution adding it, goes to the plan commission, back to council, back to you folks for a declaratory resolution.
Planning Director Denise Line asked for clarification and explained that she thought that the parcel had been included. Brown said that she would check to confirm. Commissioner William Ellis then asked if it was part of the tech park. Line responded that the tech park was not a part of Parcel C.
Section C, is this one of those areas that were part of the tech park? Will we need to include that? What?
No, it's single-family residential.
Okay, so unless it converted to agriculture or commercial, it wouldn't really matter anyway.
No, there's a possibility it may at some point.
But I'm saying there's no rush to do it
Correct.
now. Okay, if
Yeah, I was
if
just
it's
trying
in
to
it,
clarify it.
yeah, not a problem. If it's already in there, great. If not, it's something we can kick the can on a little
It's
bit.
just something to remember if we need to
Yep.
get in the future.
Gotcha.
The Redevelopment Commission also discussed other areas that had not been annexed. The commission expressed that they would prefer to omit them from the TIF district to ensure that they did not run into any legal trouble. The town attorney assured the commissioners that she would obtain more information to share at the next meeting. The Ellettsville Redevelopment Commission will meet again on June 9th. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.